Theories of Climax concept. Dear students, a very warm welcome to all of you in this particular lecture on principles of ecology. Today we are going to learn about various theories pertaining to climax concept as one of the essential aspect of community ecology. First of all, let us get an overview of the scientific meanings of ecological succession and climax concept. The study of ecological succession and its climax stage has always remained at the core of ecological science. Ecological succession is considered as the observed process of gradual change in the species structure of an ecological community over time. Ecological succession is also referred to as community dynamics, as communities are never stable and always remain dynamic in nature. That is, they keep on changing more or less regularly over time and space. In terms of definition, we can say that occurrence of relatively definite sequence of ecological communities over a period of time in the same area is referred to as ecological succession. Now, let's have a glimpse of various reasons responsible for process of ecological succession leading to climax stage. Ecological succession may occur when the conditions of an environment suddenly and drastically change. Forest fires, windstorms and human activities such as agriculture, etc. greatly alter the conditions of an environment. These massive forces may also destroy species and thus alter the dynamics of the ecological community. This results into triggering a scramble for dominance among the species still present. During succession, some species colonize an area and their populations become more numerous, whereas populations of other species decline and may even disappear. It means nothing remains the same and habitats are constantly changing. The engine of the ecological succession, that is, the main cause of ecosystem change, is the impact of established species upon their own environment. Ecological communities are never found permanently in complete balance with their component species or with the physical environment. Environment always keeps on changing over a period of time due to variation in climatic and physiographic factors, as well as the activities of the species of the communities themselves. These influences bring about marked changes in the dominance of the existing community, which is thus sooner or later replaced by another community at the same place. This process continues and successive serial communities develop one after another over the same area until the final terminal community again becomes more or less established for long period of time and can maintain itself in the equilibrium with the climate of the area. The climax concept. Now, let's get brief idea about the climax concept. According to classical ecological theory, succession stops when the series has arrived at an equilibrium or steady state with the physical and biotic environment. Barring major disturbances, the final community is not replaced by any other community and persisted indefinitely. This endpoint of ecological succession is called climax, and the final or stable community in a series is referred to as the climax community. Characteristics of climax community. Dear students, let us outline the major characteristics of climax community briefly. As per the first characteristic, the climax community is self-perpetuating and in equilibrium with the physical habitat. Second characteristic states that vegetation of climax community is tolerant of environmental conditions. As per the third character, climax community has wide diversity of species and complex food chains. Fourth characteristic suggests that individuals in the climax stage are replaced by others of the same kind. Thus, the species composition maintains the equilibrium. As per the fifth characteristic of climax community, there is no net annual accumulation of organic matter in a climax community. Mostly, annual production and use of energy is balanced in such a community. Types of climax. Now, let us understand 6 different types of climax one by one. First, climax is known as climatic climax. If there is only a single climax and the development of climax community is controlled by the climate of the region, it is termed as climatic climax. Climatic climax is theoretical and develops where physical conditions of substrate are not so extreme as to modify effects of prevailing regional climate. Second type of climax is referred to as edaphic climax. When there are more than one climax communities in a region modified by local conditions of the substrate such as soil moisture, nutrients, topography, slope exposure, fire or animal activity, it is referred to as edaphic climax. The third type of climax is termed as catastrophic climax. In this type, climax vegetation is vulnerable to a catastrophic event such as a wildfire. For example, in California, chaparral vegetation is the final vegetation. The wildfire removes the mature vegetation and decomposes. A rapid development of herbaceous vegetation follows until the shrub dominance is re-established. This is known as catastrophic climax. Fourth type of climax is the disclimax. When a stable community which is not the climatic or edaphic climax for the given site is maintained by recurrent disturbances, chiefly the biotic, that is man generated or by his domestic animals, it is designated as disclimax. It prevents successful establishment of climatic climax community. The fifth type of climax is the subclimax. The prolonged stage in succession just preceding the climatic climax is called subclimax. The sixth type of climax includes preclimax and postclimax. In certain areas, different climax communities develop under similar climatic conditions. If the community has life forms lower than those in the expected climatic climax, it is called preclimax. A community that has life forms higher than those in the expected climatic climax is referred to as postclimax. Preclimax strips develop in less moist and hotter areas, whereas postclimax trends develop in more moist and cooler areas than that of surrounding climate. Theories regarding nature of climax. The climax concept has been remaining as a subject of much controversy and discussion. There are 4 different theoretical approaches to the climax. Let us understand all the theories in detail. The first type of the theory is referred to as monoclimax or climatic climax theory. This theory was advanced by Frederick Clemens in the year 1916. It recognizes only one climax whose characteristics are determined solely by the climate. The various processes of succession and modification of environment overcome the effects of differences in topography, parent material of the soil and other factors. The whole area would be covered with uniform plant community. Communities other than climax are related to it and are recognized as subclimax, preclimax, postclimax and disclimax. This theory is supported by Coles, Ranganathan and Puri, but strongly objected by Daubenmeier in 1968. Second type of the theory is known as polyclimax theory. This theory was advanced by Tinsley in the year 1935. It proposes that the climax vegetation of a region consists of more than one vegetation climaxes, which are controlled by soil moisture, nutrients, topography, slope exposure, fire as well as animal activity. In this case, each stable community is referred to as climax and described with a prefix as edaphic climax, topographic climax, fire climax or biotic climax. The third type of the theory is known as climax pattern theory. The hypothesis of climax pattern theory was proposed by Whittaker, McIntosh and Shellac in the year 1953. The climax pattern theory recognizes variety of climaxes governed by responses of species populations to biotic and abiotic conditions. According to this theory, the total environment of the ecosystem determines the composition, species structure and balance of a climax community. The environment includes the species responses to moisture, temperature and nutrients, their biotic relationships, availability of flora and fauna to colonize the area, chance dispersal of seeds and animals, soil, climate and disturbance such as fire or wind. The nature of climax vegetation will change as the environment changes. The climax community represents a pattern of populations that corresponds to and changes with the pattern of environment. The central and most widespread community is the climatic climax community. Fourth type of theory is termed as information theory. The information theory was proposed by Leith, Odom and Goley. It has considered the climax in terms of ecosystem development. In autotrophic succession, species diversity increases with increase in organic matter content and biomass supported by the available energy. Thus, in climax community, the available energy and biomass called information contents increase. In contrast to it, in heterotrophic succession, there is decrease in available energy due to loss in terms of heat through respiration, and it also involves the recycling of nutrients by means of decomposition. Thus, the succession reaches the climax stage when amount of energy and nutrients received from the environment by the plants are returned back to the environment by decomposition through heterotrophs. Recent models of succession climax. Cornell and Slatier have proposed 3 different models to accommodate different possible pathways of succession in the year 1977. Let us study all the 3 recent models in detail to get more advanced knowledge about the succession climax. First type of the model is known as facilitation model. It is based on the Clemens idea of relay communities, in which the serial community is believed to modify the environment. According to it, each new community in course of time prepares suitable ground to facilitate its own replacement by another better suited community. This model is not supported by any proper evidence. The second type of the model is termed as tolerance model. It is based on the concept of initial floristic composition. It suggests that arrival of new invaders of higher life form types necessarily does not eliminate pioneers. According to this model, only such climax species are able to join which can be tolerated by early settlers. Hence, we can say that tolerance model differs from Clemens relay succession model in the sense that as succession proceeds, higher form plants are tolerated to join and coexist than necessarily replacing the earlier component species. With the passage of time, species which mutually tolerate each other gain control over habitat to form the climax vegetation. The third type of model is the inhibition model. According to this model, early arrived species may develop counter mechanism on a new habitat to normal replacement process. For example, the allelopathy can be considered as the common counteracting adaptation to inhibit the entry of late arriving species. This type of highly adapted communities may not be commonly found on wide range of habitats. In this case, relay succession can gain control only after the death of the allelopathic plants. This model lacks universality and hence it was also criticized. Thus, we can say that theories pertaining to climax community and recent models of succession climax help us to develop better understanding about climax concept. Summary. Dear viewers, now let us summarize our today's lecture. In this lecture, we have started with the understanding of scientific meanings of ecological succession and climax concept. We have outlined various reasons for process of ecological succession leading to climax stage. Then we have got the brief idea about the major characteristics of climax community. Not only this, we have also understood the 6 different types of climax in the form of climatic climax, edaphic climax, catastrophic climax, disclimax, subclimax, including pre and post climax. Then we have mainly focused onto the theories regarding nature of climax, in which we have studied monoclimax or climatic climax theory, polyclimax theory, climax pattern theory and information theory given by various scientists. At the end of the lecture, we have understood recent models like facilitation model, tolerance model and inhibition model in detail, along with appropriate examples to get more advanced knowledge about the climax community. Dear students, hope this particular lecture will aid to your knowledge regarding concepts of ecological succession and also help in developing better understanding about the ecological process of climax community creation in nature. Thank you so much to all of you for watching this lecture.